to KPIC's monthly immigration update. We are regulated Canadian immigration consultants. My name is Burcu Akyol, and my colleague Rupali Gulati is joining me today. Since the beginning of the pandemic, KPIC has been very actively working to share the most up-to-date information with members and the public. These updates started as daily updates that we delivered for 45 days. Then we started the bi-weekly updates and continued until the end of last year. We hope that 2021 will be a much better year for everyone. And today we're here with you to share the monthly immigration update for the first time. So Rupali, tell us what's going on in Express Entry.
A lot has been going on. First of all, wish everyone a very happy new year. The year is off to a good start when it comes to the Express Entry, and we just hope it keeps better and better. Sometime past the middle of 2020, we saw that IRCC started all program draws again after having stuck to CEC specific and PNP specific draws for a little while. I think that was in August when they started all program draws. So I believe that the last all program draw was at the very fag end of 2020, and IRCC seems to be back to having program specific draws again. The very first draws of 2021, I believe 4 of them, Burcu, correct me if I'm wrong, they are all program specific. And I think the first one took place on the 6th of January, and this was a PNP specific draw. And right the next day, there was a CEC specific draw, which means that all program draws are essentially who's getting left out here is the FSW category, as the draws are now focused on the PNPs and the FSWs, and the dates somehow, you know, kind of very seem to coincide with the provincial lockdown. I'm not saying that there's necessarily a connection, but it did coincide there. And so far what we have seen is that the draws on Wednesdays every 2 weeks are the PNP draws, and obviously cutoffs in these are pretty high because these invitations are for those candidates who have received nominations from an Express Entry aligned provincial nomination program. Could be Ontario, could be Nova Scotia, any province, and that gives them an additional 600 points. So because the jump in score is 600 points, you can assume that the cutoff for any PNP specific draw is going to be higher than any of the other draws. So it's pretty normal and pretty good news that the PNP specifics draws are at the 700s and the 800s cutoff range. Then the good news for our industry is the CEC cutoff score. CEC cutoff has dropped consistently. I remember in the last all program draw, the cutoff was, I think, 468. And ever since the CEC specific draws have started, I think one draw was at 461. The other one, the most recent one, stands at 454. Now, this kind of really improves the scope and opportunity for so many workers in Canada who qualify under the Canadian Experience class, a big chunk of them being international students who are here on a postgraduate open work permit and really looking forward to the end of the long immigration journey that they have had. The buzz is that the score for the CC category will fall more, but gradually. But yes, all in all, this is great news for everyone who's currently working in Canada and was kind of, you know, scrambling for the right kind of cutoff score while the all program draws were taking place.
Exactly.
For those people who, you know, the cutoff was at 454 more recently, and if the buzz is that it's going to fall more, if there are people who are just a little below the cutoff and they feel stuck, this might be the best time to reappear in that English exam and improve that score just a wee little bit to bring up their Express Entry score and start meeting the cutoff.
Yeah, exactly.
For applicants outside Canada, primarily federal skilled workers, well, it looks like they have to wait for an all program draw. And if the trend, if we have something like a trend, I don't know whether we can already call it a trend, but I would say that might be a few months or until the COVID situation lifts, that programs will that sees Express Entry will then conduct an all program draw. That's what I think, that this is kind of tied to the labor market situation, the travel restrictions, the IRCC goals for 2021, 22, and 23, that the numbers have to be met, and probably the logistics of processing PR applications for CECs and PNPs, they are probably coming to the they are making more sense to the immigration department, and which is why this new change has occurred. But all in all, PR programs for the economic class under the umbrella of the Express Entry seems to be going really well, and these are happy times.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. And now let's talk a little bit about the new portal IRCC has launched to expedite in Canada permanent residence lendings. As we see in the updated immigration levels plan as well, it looks like that there will be a stronger commitment to digital transformation in Canada's immigration system. Actually, the pandemic forced the system to come up with some measures, but I think some of these measures might become permanent if they prove to be effective, right? And this portal that I mentioned for PR applicants in Canada could be a good example of this. And it's a system that enables IRCC to confirm permanent residence status without in-person interviews. When the application is ready to be finalized, what happens? IRCC sends an email that asks the client to provide some information like their name, UCI, email address, information like this. And then after that, clients are given access to the portal. And on the portal, they confirm they currently live in Canada, their current address, and they submit a photo for the PR card. And then IRCC uploads a document that proves PR status until the client receives the PR card in mail. So I think this is a great system, and they will be improving the portal. And it is currently for applicants only, not representatives. We're asked to forward the email to our client, and it allows one profile per person. It's not for the whole family, one portal. So each family member needs to have their own profile. So having mentioned family members, Rupali, I think 2021 will be a good year for people who want to sponsor their parents or grandparents. What do you think?
Oh, yes. It seemed like, we are typically used to any PGP things, any parent grandparent sponsorship things happening in the earlier part of the year. That is what we have always seen, and that is what we have always been used to. And then when the pandemic happened, there wasn't much talk about the PGP program for so many months during 2020. And everybody, who was waiting to sponsor their parent was kind of, saddened that, oh, given the pandemic, heaven knows when will the program open again. But the good news is that they opened the program. They reverted back to holding a lottery. So I believe that it has always been an effort to find the most efficient PGP program, PGP pathway of selection, PGP mechanism of selection of applicants, because the number of people interested, the number of people wanting to sponsor their parents to immigrate to Canada is way more than the allocation of visas to this program. So they have been going from first come first serve to lottery to first come first serve to lottery. So they have reverted back to the lottery, and to everyone's pleasure, the program opened for an expression of interest, for an electronic expression of interest in the last quarter. And they opened a 3-week window, which closed on the 3rd of November, if I remember correctly, which accepted electronic expressions of interest. And Out of those, the government recently, IRCC recently started issuing invitations. All of us know that invitations are now, all of the invitations have now been sent out. The 2020 PGP programs has about 10, capacity for about 10,000 parental category applications, PGP as in parents and grandparents. And so around 10,000 applications will be accepted by the department and expected to be received. One notable fact is that now that the invitations are done being sent out by IRCC, an important thing to note that is that there is a firm deadline of 60 days from the date of the invitation to sponsor the parents, and not the customary 90 that we have been seeing for most express entry applications. We kind of have that mindset that, oh, that if a PR application is to be submitted, we have 90 days. For the PGP PR applications, we have 60 days. And I believe this is going to be very, very firm, and I don't think there are any exceptions possible. So the name of the game is to send in very complete applications, which are totally compliant with completeness definitions. For practitioners, it's a very good idea to refer to Regulation 10 and Regulation 12 to determine what constitutes a complete application and what is it that must not be left out in sending in an application which has been prepared as per the checklist provided. The checklist, the most current checklist is right there. And now this is about the 2020. These applications will go into processing, and typically we have seen that these applications, what I have noticed that my clients have seen finalizations in about, say, about 12 months approximately, but that was in the non-COVID times. So I think we need that flexibility. But by all means, and I cannot stress this enough that while submitting these applications, the most important part is to check the sponsor's eligibility to sponsor. That could sometimes be tricky. I'll just give you a tricky parental sponsorship questions example. And the second is the completeness. So sponsors eligibility and completeness. Regarding income, I wish to reiterate, although this is common knowledge, that a sponsor can only combine their income with the co-sponsor, not siblings, not anybody else, and they can indeed combine. It's not as if an individual has to meet the income requirement alone. The spousal income can always be used in combination. The 2021 scenario looks pretty good when it comes to the PGP, because the IRCC has already stated that they will assign a quota of 30,000 applications for parents and grandparents as compared to the 10,000 at present. So I believe that 2021 is going to be a very optimistic and happy and positive year for all those people who are hoping to bring in their parents and have not gotten an opportunity yet. It's a good idea to educate clients, and you know what, for all the education that we give to our clients, something is still always left out. There are always unique situations. There are always unique questions which we as practitioners have to clear the air about. I was recently asked by an individual who was very happy and excited to have received an invitation to sponsor his parents, that he wanted to retain our services to be able to sponsor his parents. And when I took a closer look, he got an invitation, which was like he was over the moon, that, wow, I had been waiting for these many years. The parents in India had been waiting all those years. And I took a closer look at the documentation, and turns out that he had submitted an expression of interest to sponsor his biological parents while he had himself immigrated to Canada as an adopted child. So, to us it immediately stands out as something odd. But for this individual who does not have in-depth professional knowledge of immigration, he thought that it is probably okay that he came here as a child adopted by adoptive parents, but then he has biological parents back home whom he can sponsor. And then I had to kind of, break his heart and tell him that, look, when you were adopted, your parents changed. And you cannot sponsor your biological parents any longer.
Yeah,
So,
it's really complicated.
This is a unique situation, and this is not your everyday client, or maybe one in several thousand or several hundred clients would be a client like this, who would think that, oh, I have come here as an adopted child, but maybe it is, I can bring in my biological parents. They are my biological parents after all. So then the legal aspect of it needs to be explained, that an adoption severs the parent-child relationship with the biological parents. So that was one example that stood out about eligibility, although this is a bit of a unique example and not a day-to-day example. And yet there are so many ways sponsorship eligibility is determined.
Yeah. So thank you. Yes. Yeah, you're right. Asking the right questions, right? Rupal, asking the right questions to the clients.
And taking a closer look and see what they possibly cannot see.
True.
But Burju, I'll give it back. I will pass this on back to you. I think we were going to talk about the 18 months work permit.
Oh yeah, students, actually graduates, international graduates. This was good news earlier last month. There was very good news for international graduates. It was about an additional 18-month open work permit for eligible candidates. As of January 27th, IRCC is accepting applications for open work permits under the postgraduate work permit public policy. And it's a policy that enables international students whose postgraduate work permit has expired or is going to expire to apply for an open work permit for a duration of 18 months. This is a great opportunity for graduates because this could help many of them to gain enough work experience to apply for permanent residence. And to be eligible for this application, what do they need? They must reside in Canada. They must have a legal status here or apply for status restoration. Also, their PGWP must have expired. This part is a little bit complicated. The dates must have expired on or after January the 30th, 2020, or will expire in 4 months or less from the date they apply. And IRCC will continue to accept the applications until July the 27th, 2021. Yeah, that was very good news for graduates. And Rupali, I think you have an update about LMIAs, right?
Yes, there is. This is the silver lining news in the gray COVID times. The silver lining news is, and it's not really new or outstanding news. It's just that I have noticed that through all the slowdowns, LMIA processing times have largely remained unaffected. And from all the LMIA applications I have been doing, I am mostly seeing either a fairly swift outcome or the usual processing times. Basically, while so many processes have slowed down because of COVID, somehow the LMIA processing is either at par or faster than before. Probably for a few occupations which are priority occupations, the department is resorting to expedited processing because there is a labor market shortage. For example, I think a little while ago, I had submitted an LMIA application for the position of a butcher. And it almost seemed instantaneous that the officer contacted the applicant, the employer, and rendered an outcome. So where we are used to waiting weeks upon weeks, this one really in comparison seemed instantaneous. So the LMIA processing times have have remained unaffected or have become faster, depending on probably whether the occupation in question is a priority occupation or not. So we are seeing good processing times. And LMIA applications continue to be submitted either through the online system, which I have become a great fan of. Submitting LMIAs online was something I had always hoped to be able to do, and now it's a reality. Well, I think it had started as a pilot, but now it has become a proper online system open to every individual who has a job bank account. So if an employer or a third party has a job bank account, that is the portal through which they can submit an online LMIA application as well. The beauty of it is that there were several glitches in there were several systemic deficiencies in the non-online system, that if there was something missing, or if the credit card info was not complete, or if it did not go through the first time, you received a refusal to process, or essentially the application was rejected as incomplete, and then you had to refile. Those minor technical glitches or minor systemic deficiencies have been taken care of in the online application system. The application is assigned a number as soon as you start, and then once the complete application is submitted, then 2 days later you get to pay. So and you can pay, whoever is authorized on the account can pay. It could either be the employer or be the third party. So that way it has become much more streamlined. The submission of LMIAs by email continues, although there is word that this process will be scrapped in the future, but right now it continues. And then there are, of course, the other conventional pathways of applying for LMIAs. I have lately seen a lot of compliance reviews happening. Like maybe I received a big chunk of them for my clients, or maybe that's the general reality, but I'm seeing a lot of compliance reviews which are being conducted right now with the LMIA clients, employers, to ensure that they are adhering to not only the general temporary foreign worker program guidelines, but also the COVID-19 related obligations of the employers. And I am inclined to believe that this number of compliance reviews has grown because the government is trying to ensure that the new kind of compliance, the obligations that were caused by that have been caused by COVID-19 are being taken care of by the employers. This is something new, and the government is, I think, trying very hard to ensure that the compliance factors related to COVID-19 are in place. So that was about the LMIAs. All is hunky-dory, all is good.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Rupali. So shall we finish by talking about the travel restrictions?
Yeah, for sure.
Because further travel restrictions have been introduced last Friday. It was last Friday. Prime Minister Trudeau announced new restrictive measures related to the government's efforts to combat the COVID-19 and its new strains. All international arrivals will now have to get tested. Also, having a negative test is a mandatory requirement to board flights to Canada. So this is going to be a second measure, and it will increase the chances to identify infected individuals. And also, Canada will accept international passengers in 4 cities only: Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Calgary. And there is another restriction regarding staying at designated hotels, which I think needs a little bit more clarification. The Prime Minister said such a stay could last for 2 or 3 days until the person obtains a negative test result, and it would cost about $2,000 at the expense of the travelers. So
I have a question though.
Yeah.
Shouldn't students be exempted from this, because colleges already have a program for them to quarantine, and colleges have come up with their own quarantine plans?
Yeah, I think they all have, not I think, but they all have plans, COVID-19 readiness plans in place, and I think this is the thing that needs to be clarified. How is this going to work for international students? And for the time being, until we receive clarification, I think students should contact their schools, right, to find out what they need to do.
Yeah. And as we go, you know, in this travel restriction scenario, I believe there are some gray areas, and there will be some exceptions which will now get identified. This has just been implemented, and I believe that some exceptions will be identified, and people will be identified who will be exempted from this requirement. Just like the international students, there are likely to be a few more. So we wait and watch. Every new policy is nowadays, in the COVID times, every new policy is implemented and then revised some more, because the ground under our feet seems to be shifting every day.
Yeah, true. Okay, so Rupali, thank you. And it was very nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
We've come to the end of our monthly update. Remember to subscribe our channel and stay virtually connected and safe. And see you next time.
See you next time. Bye, everyone. And bye, Burju.
Bye,
Everyone stay
Bye.
safe. Bye-bye.
Bye, Rupali.